Hi, I'm Adele Campbell,
And I'm Pierre Celestin.
and we recently had the opportunity to learn about and meet with some individuals from a local agency serving military members.
I actually had the pleasure of going down and actually meeting the director of this organization, and it was a great organization. She was telling me that a lot of members that come to the organization, they're either family members of fallen soldiers or they're veterans, and they're accepted into the program. She also um, told me that they accept first responders to the program as well.
The program provides some resources for these members of the military to explore positive coping skills. They do boating tours and fishing, exercise. It's basically set up as a retreat to allow these individuals a safe place to engage in the healing process and dealing with grief and loss that comes with war.
Yeah, it's kind of the what's the word for it? It's kind of the place where you go that other organizations don't offer. Some organizations do not offer grieving programs, such as the grieving program that's at this particular organization. So it offers that. It provides a place for veterans to get away and possibly speak and be in groups of other veterans that have faced similar difficulties of trying to readjust to society after war and after being a veteran or being in active duty for so long.
This type of program is really crucial to have available to military members returning from war because they face so many losses and they really compound on each other, such as they have just recently lost their occupation as an active soldier member, or maybe their family is struggling due to the stress that they've endured over the deployments. So this resource is really needed, and it's a one of a kind, and it's still growing to be bigger, and we were really excited to learn about it. Now that we've introduced the One Center, or the agency that we had the pleasure of meeting with, to you, we're also going to introduce an OT's role in the field of occupational therapy and how they serve their clients.
Occupational therapists take a holistic approach. They look at the whole picture as opposed to just looking at one impairment. So, for example, if someone has a traumatic injury, they not only focus on maybe making sure the person is strong enough to brush their teeth, but they also look at the psychological approach as well. Um, that's one of the things that they do. They also help with daily activities of daily living. Um, those activities in the occupational world are called occupations. So brushing teeth or putting your shoes on or even putting your clothes on. Things that may seem simple for us may be difficult for others.
OTs examine occupational performance as a consequence of the client, the environment, and their occupation, and view it as a dynamic system, and seek to find challenges that present issues with that system and work through them to provide a higher quality of life and more independence and greater occupational engagement.
Occupational therapists always, always establish the importance of well-being and the quality of life to the clients, helping keep them motivated throughout the tasks and helping them stay on task as far as doing their activities of daily living.
Occupational therapists emphasize a therapeutic relationship in collaboration with the client and making sure that the client's goals are the therapist's goals, and there's a mutual understanding and agreement of an intervention plan to reach those goals.
After learning about the tremendous work being done at the One Center and their mission to honor, support, and promote healing of the mind and spirit, we strongly feel that the field of occupational therapy, or OT, has many relevant concepts that may be beneficial when supplemented into the program. OTs at the One Center will facilitate occupational engagement by building skill sets, habits, and routines needed in everyday life that align for their goals and vision for the future and assist in overcoming challenges of grief and civilian reintegration.
We also identified several models of occupational therapy, including the model of human occupation, the MOHO, the intentional relationship model, the IRM, and the occupational adaptation model. These could be combined into a multimodal approach with a strong theoretical framework and evidence-based resources that would help and assist in planning treatments for clients at the One Center.
Theoretical models. MOHO, the model of human occupation. IRM, which is the intentional relationship model. And OA, which is occupational adaptation. And the first model we're going to talk about is the model of human occupation, also known as MOHO. The MOHO is a client-centered model that looks beyond impairment to other client-related factors that affect occupational performance. Utilizing MOHO therapeutic strategies, the therapist would initially attend to and acknowledge the client's experience through their perception of input or environmental factors. Next, the therapist and client will collaborate to identify factors that facilitate occupational engagement. A major task of MOHO therapy is to reconstruct habits and roles so that the person can more readily participate in everyday occupations.
Next, we'll talk about the intentional relationship model. Using the IRM model, therapists develop a strong rapport with the client and strive to create a therapeutic atmosphere so that they can promote healing in the client. Previous research has provided evidence that the use of the IRM to create a meaningful relationship with the client can provide an avenue for recognizing the signature wounds of war. The IRM model explains how the relationship between the client and the therapist affects the overall process of occupational therapy and how the relationship can be used to enhance occupational therapy outcomes. This would be significant in a population such as the One Center because they are seeking an atmosphere where they can heal and promote wellness of the mind and body.
The final model that we looked at that can be very beneficial to the One Center is occupational adaptation. Occupational adaptation theory is grounded by core OT beliefs such as human beings have an occupational nature and can influence their health through occupation. Human development is a continuous process of adaptation. Biological, sociological, and physiological factors may interrupt and impair the process at any point in the life cycle. An appropriate occupation can facilitate the adaptive process. This method of treatment will not only provide the clients with a greater ability to adapt, but also improve sense of occupational identity. Military training utilizes a concept of breaking down the individual and building the group with a unified identity. Moreover, military roles are extremely meaningful and strongly shape the identity of individuals. As a result, many veterans returning to civilian life experience large voids in meaningful activity due to the loss of identity that was strongly rooted in their military occupation. Occupational therapy may be used to guide occupational engagement and improve individuals' adaptation in life occupations. So, uh, considering the one center using or having most of the members be veterans, the occupational adaptation model would work very well with um, veterans returning to civilian life.
So from explaining the theoretical models of OT, you can tell that there are many applications in a variety of ways to supplement the agency's current programs and increase the occupational performance of their clients who may be experiencing difficulty adjusting to civilian life or coping with the tremendous grief and loss they've experienced. Based on the typical population of individuals who attend My Warrior's Place, we have designed the following case study. Our client's name is Brian. He's a 35-year-old veteran who has recently returned from an extended deployment in Iraq. While serving, Brian witnessed many tragedies of war, including the death of a brother in arms. He is having a difficult time returning to civilian life and reports heavily abusing alcohol in an attempt to escape his haunting flashbacks. Brian has not yet sought employment after his last deployment and lacks motivation to engage in social or leisure occupations. Using the theoretical models that we proposed, we decided that to assess Brian using a combination of client interviews, surveys, and the Canadian Occupational Performance Measure, which identifies challenges in occupational areas of self-care, productivity, and leisure. And this has been used specifically with veterans in the past and had very positive outcomes. The information we gathered from both the client interviews and the COPM, the Canadian Occupational Performance Measure, um, allowed us to understand some of what Brian was dealing with and how he was experiencing the input from the environment and social factors on his return to the civilian life. And we collaborated and addressed these challenges that he is currently facing.
In this instance, Brian reported a strong desire to overcome his issues with substance abuse, and he and the occupational therapist agreed on the goal of developing a certain life skills to promote recovery and avoidance from substance abuse.
Hi Brian, my name's Adele and I'm an OT here at the One Center. I noticed that you have recently returned from Iraq and I wanted to thank you so much for your service and all the sacrifices you have made. Are you aware of the services that OT can provide?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so basically we are mainly concerned with assisting you to engage in the activities that you find meaningful and helping you find a greater sense of occupational identity and just get you back into the activities that you used to enjoy doing, and we'll help you get there. Are you okay with answering a few questions today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you currently working, Brian?
No.
No? Okay. When was the last time you had a job?
The last time I had a job was before the service, or
Well, the service was your last
that was my
occupation?
last
Okay.
job.
And are you currently seeking new jobs?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm kind of just not motivated to look for jobs or anything. I don't know what I want to do.
Okay. What do you like to do for leisure, for entertainment?
Nothing. I used to enjoy fishing, but I don't really enjoy much anymore.
Fishing. Who did you used to go fishing with?
I used to go fishing with some of my friends that joined the army with me.
Okay.
But one of them didn't make it back, so I really don't enjoy fishing.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. What do you think the main challenges have been reintegrating into civilian life?
Living a life where you're always watching your back, and when you can't really sleep because you're afraid you're going to be attacked, and coming back to civilian life where you're not supposed to, think that way, but it's a constant memory or constant thought in my head.
Okay, we can help you with that. Have you turned to any negative coping methods to deal with these difficulties?
I've been drinking heavily, something that over the years I've done while I've been enlisted, but now that I'm not enlisted anymore, I drink a lot more now.
Would you say on a daily basis?
Definitely daily.
Daily, okay. Have you ever wished you could stop drinking for a week or so, but not been able to?
I wish I could stop, but it feels like that's the only thing that makes me forget how it was when I was enlisted.
Okay. And do you ever have problems stemming from the involvement of alcohol or drinking?
I got in trouble maybe 2 or 3 months ago. I was at a bar and I got into a little altercation, and I got in trouble for that. I was drinking way too much, but that's the only way I can cope as of being a civilian right now.
Do you have any other coping skills that you utilize at this time?
Drinking and sleeping.
Okay. All right. Would you mind taking this brief assessment for me, please? And after that, we'll come up with some goals that we can agree on to start working towards, if that's okay. All right. Thank you. From the previous example, you can see how an occupational therapist may work with their client to retrieve information by using surveys and interviews and assessments to gather the information they need to create a therapeutic relationship and also a client profile and help develop goals to work on. In Brian's case, we would next exhibit the behaviors and habits that occur on a daily basis while showing Brian how his daily routines have impacted his lifestyle by centering his focus on alcohol and how he has lost his identity in the roles that mean most to him. The OT would then work beside Brian to rebuild or reconstruct those occupational roles by determining what activities bring him the most joy and sense of well-being without the use of alcohol.
These methods are evidence-based and would be well suited for the entire population at the One Center. Information provided from these holistic assessments would guide the intervention. The agency will be able to evaluate outcomes of the program by following evaluation sub-processes used in the occupational adaptation model. The process includes a client's personal assessment of the quality of their occupational responses. Efficiency, effectiveness, and satisfaction to self and others are measures used to evaluate one's own experience of relative mastery. This assessment may be used to track outcomes as well as identify new areas in need of adaptation.
As demonstrated in this case study, occupational therapy may be used to guide occupational engagement and promote increased motivation, as well as enable adaptation and also the formation of a positive occupational identity for clients at the One Center, such as Brian, a veteran returning to civilian life and trying to adapt to a new environment. Occupational therapy facilitates long-term recovery by going beyond just addressing in his case, substance abuse. It also prepares the client to fill whatever that void was that the substance leaves behind. And we help them do that through meaningful activities and providing productive occupations. This case study demonstrates an occupation-based practice that could be adapted for a group population or to fill a variety of unique voids experienced by the clients of the One Center.
The One Center was a great organization to tour and talk to the director. I learned a lot, and I can see a lot of potential in this organization.
And we're very excited to get to know them and hope to see them grow and be successful.